Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I am Tracy Cram. YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio. I am a 4-time dementia caregiving survivor and the author of Dementia Home Care. And joining me today is our special guest, PKBeville, founder of Second Wind Dreams, a nonprofit organization created to change the perception of aging through fulfilling elders' dreams and offering education programs to help caregivers understand the physical and mental changes facing those with dementia. And she is the inventor of the Virtual Dementia Tour, a training method designed to build sensitivity and awareness in individuals caring for those with dementia. So welcome, PK.
Hi, Tracy. Thanks for having me. This is an honor.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to take the time out of your schedule to be with us, because I know how busy you are.
No, I'm happy to.
I was wondering if you could tell our audience the connection to dementia.
We kind of blinked out there, so I'm going to guess what you just asked. My connection to dementia is really limited. I have been working in elder care since 1983, so I'm a 40-year veteran of serving our elders. And I had no connection to people with dementia, except doing psychological evaluations for those who were experiencing some behavioral difficulties. So in light of that, I think I bring to the table a little bit of a different view of dementia in that I don't have any familial background in it until just the past 5-6 years. Up until then, I was big into research about dementia, mainly because those were mainly the people I was caring for in long-term care as a psychologist. And in doing so, it ignited a need to learn more about why they behave the way they do, what is causing that, and the staff or family members' responses to those things. So my father was diagnosed with vascular dementia. He lived with us the last 4 years of his life. He passed away 2 years ago. So while I have a lot of education in this field, caring for Dad was World War II veteran, was an eye-opening experience. And while I felt like I had a lot of experience, it paled in comparison to what I learned from him through the caregiving experience.
So is that what took you to design the Virtual Dementia Care Tour? Is that, or was
No.
it, how did you, okay, so you have this experience that you had with your dad, and what did you do with it?
Actually, the Virtual Dementia Tour I created back in 2001, 2002, long before Daddy was diagnosed. And so the impetus for that was I felt like I tried everything to help families and caregivers see learn the best ways to care for people with dementia, any kind of dementia, since we know that that's a broad-based term. And I was getting nowhere fast. I felt like I was standing on my head and spitting nickels to try to get people to pay attention to, here's what's happening, here's why it's happening, and here's what you need to do. So finally, I decided that, because I wasn't going to give up, that maybe the only way I was going to help them see what and how people with dementia behave the way they do was to create a way to simulate what it might be like to have dementia. So it took years, and I studied how the brain dies when a person has dementia, again, umbrella, and what areas of the brain were most affected and how those areas of the brain that were affected resulted in behavioral output. So in other words, studying how the brain dies helped me see from the brain's perspective what was going on for a person with dementia and why they behaved the way they did. Now, Tracy, the trick became after that was, okay, so excellent, but how do I simulate that? So it took a while to come up with the components that we use to simulate the areas of the brain that are behaving in a more difficult way or a disabled way, and causing us as caregivers to have to change our approaches with them almost hourly. So once I developed the components, I tested them with support groups of people who were living with early dementia, and until they were telling me, you've got it, that this is what I feel and this is what I'm experiencing. So that was great. Excellent. Got the components done. But then I needed to figure out, how am I going to assess whether change occurred? Big into research, and all the programs we have at Second Wind Dreams are research front and back, university-based research and international research to make sure that we're getting the right outcomes. So developing an assessment to determine whether or not the participant changed while they were going through the virtual dementia tour and better understood those with dementia took a while as well, but that has now been studied over and over again to determine the best ways to ask the questions. And then finally, I had to figure out a way to simulate the environment that a person living with dementia is most likely to be in. So we actually stage a room in a certain way to make sure that we are looking at the world from a person with dementia's perspective. And then we add tasks that the person needs to complete during the period of time that they're in the virtual dementia tour. And that's where the real change happens, is in the room. And then we do a debrief afterwards to make sure that the connections are made between the person living with or going through the tour and the person living with dementia. Because without those connections, you come away from the VDT going, oh my God, what in the world? So we're actually examining mid-stage dementia during the virtual dementia tour.
I have to say that is so impressive. And I had a guest a few weeks or months ago that took the tour, and she was caring for her mom, and it literally changed her life and how she cared for her mother. And by the end of the story, we were all crying. It was just amazing. But the fact that you have the booties, or not the booties, the insoles for the shoes and the gloves and the goggles, it's, and then you can teach people how to make that connection so that it's so meaningful. How have you seen the growth of this? Have you seen much growth of people adopting this training to learn how to do dementia care?
Yeah. So it never occurred to me that this would actually turn into something big. I, did it for my dissertation, and I did it because I was concerned about making those connections. And so what happened was some of the places I piloted the VDT in, it wasn't even called that then, started calling me back and saying, could you come back and do that thing again? So after doing 10 or 12 of those, I realized, you know what? I had been, honestly, when I founded Second Wind Dreams in 97, it was really hard to raise funds to make the dreams come true. And I was constantly praying, how can I make this happen? And it turns out that the virtual dementia tour is what makes it happen. So we patented the VDT about 2010. And it is now in 20 countries, and it's in 6 languages. And we continue. The thing is about the VDT is it's not static. We continue to research, we continue to learn new things, and we continue to change and meld the virtual dementia tour to meet the needs of the public, so that we have a VDT specifically designed just for families that they do in the home of the person they're caring for. And we have one that's for community leaders so that we can try to create a more dementia-friendly world. And we have one for retail, one for funeral homes. We have them, airlines, TSA, we have them specifically designed for those places where people living with dementia are likely to be served. So, so that continues to be researched. We are launching this fall the mealtime VDT. So often I think people living with dementia, quote, stop eating because we don't understand what it is that they really need as far as ways to handle mealtime. And we are also launching a dental VDT. We know that good oral health for people living with dementia is essential because the cascade of other physiological problems that happen when we don't have good oral care for them is awful. So we have developed a dental virtual dementia tour. The 3rd pilot will be happening next month. Then we'll be launching that later on in the fall. And I am just launching very soon. It's kind of already soft launched, an end of life care program for people, family, caregivers, to understand what it's like at the end of life and imminent death for a person with dementia. It's so critical that we examine that part of dementia as well.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. That's incredible about the dental portion, because I know that with my own family, I had a lot of issues trying to work through brushing teeth, figuring out how to use toothbrush, finally using sponges. I mean, just anything we could think of to get somebody to brush their teeth. I'm fascinated by that. My other question for you is, you were talking about the different programs. How is it going with libraries? Are you getting acceptance with the libraries? I'm really dying about this one. I want to know.
Oh, sure. You're so sweet, Tracy, I swear. So in Georgia, the whole library system has the Virtual Dementia Tour Family Edition available for families to check out and use it in their own home and bring it back to the library. And we have a very strong relationship with the library systems here in Georgia. We hope to grow that nationwide. The libraries also allow us to do the virtual dementia tour at no charge for the use of the space for the general public. And we take advantage of that a great deal. So, because it's so hard for a family to go different places to get the opportunity to go through the larger virtual dementia tour. because of their caregiving needs. And so often the libraries will have someone there from an elder care community who knows how to care for people with dementia, and they watch these people, these wonderful, beautiful people, while their loved ones take the virtual dementia tour. And to me, our relationship with the libraries here is so great. They are very committed to helping the public understand what it's like to have dementia.
Oh, that is fantastic. Yeah, I'm very excited about the library component because there's a lot of people that don't have the money to travel or to get to some place or could afford to buy it. So, can you hear me? My
Yeah, I can.
okay. So, I'm very excited about this. My next question is, when you are certifying people to be trainers, is that something that they can go online and do, or do they have to do it in person?
Well, we are doing it all over the United States. So they kind of need to go to our website, kind of keep up with where we're doing the trainings. Now, we have certified trainers. Those are our clinical people who have a 3 to 4 day, depends on what specialty they want to go into, because we have the hospital VDT, and that takes clinicians at a different level. And we also have the inclusive VDT, which is a little bit different. So they can pay attention to where that's happening. We vet our certified trainers because they're going to be doing it in different settings, and we want to be sure that they're clinically astute. We are evidence-based, which means that the VDT has to be conducted the same way everywhere. So we have those people that travel around. It is a pretty extensive application process, and they can apply online at our website. And then we also have facilitators, and those are people who can take the online training to become facilitators in just their local area. Like usually they are people who are associated with an assisted living or some other long-term care environment, and they can do the VDT in the public as well. So, but they are not as clinically astute as our certified trainers.
Okay, that is just so incredible. I'm very excited about this because I have seen what happens to people after they've taken the virtual dementia tour, and it's I've talked to a lot of people that have done it. They talk about what happens to them after, before they do the interview, about how they physically feel and how disoriented they are, and how they want to poke their ears out because of the sound that sounds like tinnitus on steroids. And so it's I just think it's so amazing what you have done with this. And I guess my second question is going back to Second Wind Dreams. Can you tell us more about Second Wind Dreams?
Oh, yes, I would love to. So, when I was doing evaluations in nursing homes years and years ago, one of the questions on the geriatric incomplete sentences test is finish this sentence with the way you feel. And they would say, oh, I wish. They would say things like, I wish I could go to the graveside of my wife. I wish I could go to a museum. I wish I could see my son again. I wish I could get a steak dinner. You know, and that always just absolutely tore me up, because these are people who can't even get something that they long for just because they can't get a ride, or just because they don't have the funds available for something very simple. The other question on the incomplete sentences test was the future. Finish this sentence with the way you really feel. The future. Well, that always blew me out of the water, because here they are, they're infirm, they're in long-term care. How does the future look? And to them, they were saying, great, it's great, it's fine. So what is happening here? It's almost like a cognitive dissonance for me, because I couldn't make that statement work with their current situation. And what that tells you is the beautiful resilience of people, even at the end stages of life. They are still looking at the future, and they were teaching me so much. And then you couple that statement with I wish, and here you've got this beautiful relationship between something they want to do in the future, they know they probably can't, and having a bright future. So it took me years to figure out that if I coupled those two things together and tried to make that wish happen, which, by the way, eventually I realized is actually a dream. It's not just a wish. There's a difference between a wish and a dream. A wish is something you have when you blow out birthday candles. A dream is something that you obviously visualize and have thought about, and is taking some of your emotional bandwidth. And that's a beautiful thing. So it occurred to me that maybe if we started trying to make some of those dreams happen with the use of community support, and that is my founding principle, really, with Second Wind Dreams, is to get the community involved in making the dreams come true, so that they begin to forge a relationship with these beautiful people who are in assisted living, nursing home, home health. Now we have a whole line of long-term care affiliations. So when I started making some of the dreams public, Tracy, you would not believe how people started coming forward and wanting to help us make the dreams come true. It really was. That just tells you the state of our human condition, that people want to help, they just don't know how. So what we have to do is teach them how. So making the dreams come true is watching the light come on in the elders' eyes and the dreamers smile, not to mention how the caregivers change their attitude. They're getting to see their loved one in a different light once again. And then, of course, staff, they need this motivation of watching dreams come true. But again, Tracy, it was hard for me to get that off the ground, because I couldn't get people to understand how important this was. So now we have the ability for anybody to help with the dreams. They can go to our website, and we have listed dreams there that need funding. And you can select a dream, and you can pay, $15, $20, whatever, towards the dream. Of course, more than that would be great. Or you can make a general donation to Second Wind Dreams, and we will use that donation specifically for dreams. So now we've made it more available. And of course, we have dream members. Those are the elder care communities along the spectrum who join us in this movement to make dreams come true. And they're making dreams come true a lot. So it's exciting to see. I sure hope your viewers will take the opportunity to go to our social media pages. Just look up Second Wind Dreams, and you'll find us on almost every social media channel. And of course, like us, but take a gander at some of these things that are going on out there, and get involved. It'll change your life, that's for sure. So that's the dreams and the virtual dementia tour, as mentioned before. I donated that to Second Wind so that we could have an ongoing revenue producer for the Dreams program. So that's how that marriage happened.
Oh, that is so incredible. So I don't know if you can hear me, but I am so taken by this whole program and how it's affected people. I have seen a lot of the dreams that you have listed on your social media platform. The one where you had, and this has been probably a while, the one where you had a woman who wanted to ride the horse, the one last time. Can you tell us
Yeah.
more about that? That was an amazing dream.
I am sad that I can't be a part of all the dreams that are happening. Um, so the backstory of that dream is actually online. I was not a part of that dream. I can tell you that when our elders want to do like ride a horse again, the ripple effect is incredible. Usually they have had a background in equestrian work or life, and they want to go do that again. Now remember, if you're an elder and you can't go ride a horse and you think about it all the time, when you are taken to a farm or a place where there are horses, think about the smells, the sounds, all of that ignites such power within the person who's the dreamer. So when that happens, a couple of real big ripples happen. So there was one lady who wanted to ride a horse again, and she had dreamed of it for a long time. But here was the wrinkle. The farm said that they could not get her on a horse unless she was ambulatory, at least with a walker. Well, this woman was wheelchair bound. And do you know that she actually got with the physical therapist and said, listen, they can take me and put me on a horse, but I have to be mobile. Can you help me with this? And sure enough, that precious lamb was able to walk up to the horse. They were able to put her on the horse, and she rode and rode and rode. So you see how big that ripple effect is? It actually got her walking again. So yeah, the horse dreams are incredible. All of them are incredible.
That is so powerful. I mean, I just thinking about that makes me cry.
Yeah, yeah.
But all the okay, you must put in so much time trying to move this further along. How did you start? How did this start coalescing? Because it couldn't have happened. It had to happen organically in some form. I mean, how did this Second Wind Dreams and then the virtual tour? How did all of that kind of come about? You mentioned a dissertation, so
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
yeah, yeah. Well, that was I decided after I founded Second Wind. I had been consulting, obviously, in long-term care and providing services for years, but yeah, I decided I was going to go ahead and work on a PhD, and so that was the impetus for the virtual dementia tour. My first publication was in the American Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, but the coalescing, that's a really good question, Tracy. I am very faith-based, and I believe that I was put here to help create services that opens our minds to what other people are dealing with. Um, I believe empathy can be taught. It's not innate. It has to be learned. And I believe that because we are so spirit led, that the right things have been placed before us, not just me, but our team, to allow all of this to work together. Now, I'm not going to tell you for 1 minute that there weren't some horribly lean times where I questioned whether or not this should continue. I was concerned that maybe I was biting off something too big. And those wilderness times taught me so much about patience and waiting for the right things to come together. When I say that, I don't mean to imply that I sat in a corner and sucked my thumb and waited for things to happen. When I get asked how a successful business like that occurred, my response is very simple. You just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Go to every meeting, answer every phone call, answer every email, stay on top of who's been contacting you, and start making connections. That's really the bottom line for successful business. And never give up. While I questioned whether or not we should continue at a couple of times in this 27 years we've been in business as a nonprofit, while that happened, it's usually relatively short-lived, but the angst is painful, and I just have to sit in the wilderness for a bit before it all starts coming back together again.
That's impressive. So I want to go back and talk about a little bit about caring for your father. How did that affect you?
Yeah. So, well, it cracked me up, and it cracked Dad up too. Dad had the best sense of humor in the whole wide world, but boy, was he difficult. He had vascular dementia, and we knew it for a while. And he moved in with us. And I'll tell you the toughest part of that, Tracy. And by the way, your book is awesome. I just love it. And I hope everybody has an opportunity to get their own copy of it. It's beautifully done and well written and very comprehensive, which I love most of all. But the argument between me and my husband while caring for Daddy was the worst part. My husband is God love him. We've been married for 33 years, but he is a businessman straight out of the chute. His empathy scale is probably about that high. Great man, love him to death, but his ability to look at someone else and say, oof, I can see what you're going through, let me change my attitude, wasn't there. So here Dad is struggling with living with his daughter and her husband and trying to make peace with, I'm so dependent. He was legally blind by then and had vascular dementia. We had to build a space for him in our house that was able to handle almost deaf, legally blind, vascular dementia person, and it was expensive. And my husband had a problem with that. And in the general caregiving, my husband had a problem with the amount of time I was spending with Dad, trying to help him day to day, the doctor's appointments, the bathing, dressing, grooming, all the things that had to be done. He was not very patient. After the first year and having a number of sit downs with my husband, without Daddy, obviously, I think he began to engender a sense of love and he loved Dad, but a sense of what Dad was going through. But that took a lot of borderline painful discussions. And when I work with families now, that's the biggest takeaway that I have when I work with them is trying. It's almost like having a new baby move into, come home from the hospital. You've had to build a special room for them. You've had to adjust your lifestyle. You've had to prepare a bit. And there is an adjustment involved. There's postpartum depression. There's all kinds of things that happen. And helping families navigate that placement is what's important, I think. And you did a good job in your book of talking about those issues. And I appreciate that, Tracy.
Oh, thank you very much. I too took care of my dad and understand the very overwhelming experience that you went through and trying to get everything, arranged. Because when he first moved in with us, I thought I had a dementia-friendly home and discovered I wasn't even close. And it took a long time to learn. Fortunately, my husband, he was on board before I was practically. So it was
Well,
easier for us to work as a team. However, knowing the struggles the rest of my family went through, I can relate to the difficulty you had with your husband, and trying to create empathy is very difficult.
yeah.
To create
Um,
empathy, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and eventually John and I began to work as a team. Later on, he started being able to take Dad to some doctor's appointments and understood how Dad's diet had to be a certain way. Those things just took time, but by the time Dad passed away, my husband grieved enormously for him, and you really only grieve the people that you love deeply. So he was there, and their relationship ended up being a beautiful thing.
That is so wonderful. It helps when you can bond when you're doing care. Um, not always not everyone is designed to be a caregiver. Um, Learning empathy is such a huge tool in caregiving. It's just it changes your perspective. The fact that can you hear me? The fact that
Yes.
you were able to come up with a way to teach people empathy using the virtual dementia tour is absolutely incredible. Um, did you want to talk? We've got just a few minutes left before we go off the air. So, did you want to talk?
Well, I think, Tracy, that the empathy is a byproduct of walking in the shoes of someone that you care about, but you don't understand. That's kind of the interesting thing with people with dementia is that they can look fine and they can be socially acceptable, or they always pretty much, but we just have to understand them. But we don't know what's going on in that precious brain of theirs, and they can't tell us. So, walking in their shoes in an environment that is like what many of them are dealing with, the byproduct is empathic care, because now you go, oh, good grief, that's what it looks like to them. Oh, my goodness, they're hearing that chatter all the time. Oh, my goodness, they're experiencing pain. And they can't tell us they're in pain, and yet they keep functioning. And they show us they're in pain, and we think it's inappropriate, so we over medicate them. They're just so it's inherent in the care. My dream is to come up with a way to develop an empathy scale for caregivers, and I'm in the process of finalizing the research that's going to need to happen in order to do that. Because wouldn't it be nice if we could know this caregiver that we're hiring to provide some care, empathy scale is 2, versus someone who's got a good empathy scale. Same for hiring people in hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living. Kind of need to know that.
The really impressive part about that is I have actually, had family members in skilled care and witnessed people who were just hired but didn't have enough training. And so they didn't know how to approach someone who it wasn't they weren't being resistant, it's that they needed to be invited to do something instead of being told. And the caregiver couldn't pick up on that. And so then the person became combative. And that's why I think what you're doing is so incredible.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. You're very kind. It's all spirit led. I just keep showing up.
Well, this has been such a tremendous experience for me. Thank you, PK, so much.
Oh,
And
you're.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, oh, you're welcome.
Oh,
Anytime.
so we're going to wrap up now. And PK, thank you again for joining us. And I'd also like to thank our audience for spending time with us. And we'll be back on October 17th. And our guest will be Lori LeBay of Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. She's the co-founder of the dementiamap.com and the Memory Cafe directory. She's also the author of the children's book, Betty the Bald Chicken. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next month. See you then.